Okay, let's unpack this. You've shared some fascinating sources, all kind of swirling around this name, Flare.
Yes, it sounds bright, right? Like a signal flare.
Exactly. But digging into the material, it turns out Flare pops up in two pretty different places. We've got a blockchain network
Hmm.
and then also a digital risk management platform. Quite the mix.
It really is. And that's what makes this deep dive interesting, I think. We're jumping from, decentralized systems in crypto markets over to the world of enterprise cybersecurity.
So this deep dive is really for you, the listener. If you want to get a solid handle on these complex topics fast, find those aha moments and, well, not get totally bogged down in the jargon.
Our mission really is to walk through these sources, pull out the key takeaways, connect the dots where they actually
Or
connect,
point out where they don't.
right? Or point out where they don't, and help you understand what each flare is really about and, why it matters today. We'll look at the potential, the hurdles, maybe some surprising bits from the sources.
Sounds good. So we'll tackle the Flare network first, the
Yeah.
blockchain one.
Yeah, let's start there. We'll cover its tech, the token, its market position, strengths, weaknesses, all that. And we'll even touch on some community reactions found in the sources.
Okay. And then we'll switch over completely to the other Flare, the digital risk company. Got it. Let's jump in.
All right, the Flare network. So the sources describe it as a layer one blockchain. Its main structure launched back in 2021, but it went public, like fully public, in January 2023.
And its main goal is connectivity, interoperability.
Exactly that. It's designed for decentralized connectivity, making it easier for different blockchain ecosystems to, well, interact. The big focus is data integrity, making sure developers can get secure, decentralized access to data.
Based in Dubai, right, with a few co-founders listed.
Correct. Hugo Fillion, Sean Rowan, and Dr. Nari Usher. And importantly for developers, it's EVM-based.
Ah, okay. So compatible with Ethereum's main language, Solidity. That definitely lowers the barrier to entry.
It does. Makes it much easier for existing Ethereum developers to build on Flare. And security-wise, it uses proof of stake, POS. Validators stake the network's token, FLR, to participate in consensus.
Okay, standard stuff there. Now, the sources seem to really emphasize the core tech, these two components, the state connector and the Flare Time Series Oracle, FTSO.
Yes, those are central to Flare's whole proposition, the state connector. One source called it a secure postal service for data, which I quite liked.
Secure Postal Service, okay. What's it delivering?
It basically verifies information requests between different blockchains, or even from systems off the Flare chain, but still on other public chains. It uses cryptography, Merkle trees specifically, to prove that data from another source is accurate. This is really important for things like bridging assets safely or verifying external events.
And people get paid for helping verify this. Attestation providers.
Right. They need to reach consensus on the data's validity, and they earn FLR rewards for doing that work.
So that handles data between chains. What about the FTSO, getting data from the real world?
That's exactly what the FTSO does. It's Flare's decentralized oracle. It brings off-chain data, prices, weather, API data, whatever, onto the blockchain reliably.
Not just from one source, though.
No, that's the key. It uses a network of up to 100 independent oracle providers. They submit data, and the system is designed to incentivize accuracy.
How often does it update?
Very often. The sources say data is reviewed and refreshed every 3 minutes, then it basically expires. So dApps get really timely information.
And it's not just financial data you mentioned.
Right, that was interesting. While lots of oracles focus on price feeds, the FTSO aims broader. It wants to provide reliable data for any kind of real-world event. The example given was like the exact amount of added time in a football match.
That's specific. And potentially very useful for certain dApps.
Potentially, yeah. And token holders, regular FLR holders, can delegate their tokens, or a wrapped version, WFLR, to these providers. They earn rewards based on the provider's performance without actually giving up their tokens. The sources mention this as a passive income route.
Okay, so the FTSO brings real-world data in. The state connector verifies data between chains. A two-way system for data reliability.
That's the idea. Creating a foundation of trustworthy data for applications built on Flare.
Got it. Okay, let's talk about the fuel for this engine. The Flare token, FLR.
Yeah, FLR. It's the native token. So its main uses mentioned are paying for gas, those transaction fees.
Standard.
Yep, being staked by validators for network security.
Also standard POS stuff.
And granting governance rights. Token holders get to vote on network decisions.
And you can delegate it too using WFLR, which is just a wrapped version, one-to-one.
Correct. Now, the initial distribution is interesting.
Yeah.
A big chunk, 15%, was airdropped to XRP holders back based on a snapshot from late 2022. This was done through exchanges.
Why XRP holders?
The sources suggest it was a strategic move, partly tied to early partnerships or history, and aimed at getting the token into many hands quickly to decentralize ownership from the start.
Okay. And the supply. 100 million total.
Yeah.
Or billion.
Let me check the notes. It seems my prior summary had a typo. The outline indicates a total supply currently 100 billion. 100 billion. But initially only about 16% was circulating.
100 billion, that's a big number. And it's inflationary.
Yes, the sources clearly state it's inflationary. There's a plan mentioned, releasing 700 million FLR per month for 36 months, ending January 2024. WFLR holders were key beneficiaries. Importantly, the sources said there was no stated maximum supply.
Wow, 700 million a month is significant inflation. That definitely explains some of the community discussion points we'll get to.
Yeah.
And the market cap was noted around $380 million at the time of the source, after a big drop from its launch price.
Yeah, a 54% decline from the January 2023 high was mentioned. Market volatility, initial distribution mechanics, probably several factors at play there.
And how was the initial pot split?
The sources broke it down. About 22.5% to development and investment groups, a large chunk, 58.3% for the community, and 19.2% for the team, advisors, and early backers.
Okay. Before the SWAT, there was also mention of Songbird SGB. What's that about?
Songbird, SGB, is Flare's Canary network. Basically, it's the main test net.
Like Kusama for Polkadot, a live network for testing.
Exactly like that. Developers test their projects on Songbird in a real-world-like environment before pushing them to the main Flare network. A key difference from some testnets is that Songbird's token, SGB, has a finite supply, making the economic testing more realistic.
Interesting. And there were plans for Songbird users to even have a say in Flare governance.
Yeah, a bicameral legislature model was mentioned, aiming to give the Songbird community some input. And then there's the Flare Foundation.
Right, the nonprofit in the Netherlands.
Yep. Supports growth grants, R&D, marketing. But crucially, the sources say it does not participate in governance itself. It received a portion of the initial FLR, distributed slowly over 36 months, mirroring the overall token emission.
So, summing up the Flare network's pitch from the sources, flexibility from EVM, security from the dual data systems, FTSO state connector, and a big push on interoperability. They were aiming for 30 connected protocols by end of 2024.
That was the target mentioned, yeah. Though the sources also hinted at potential technical challenges in achieving that smoothly. And Web 2 compatibility was another point, trying to attract developers building apps that connect to existing web services.
And for users, beyond just holding the token, the sources mentioned passive income from delegation, minting assets from other chains onto Flare, like XRP, Doge.
Yes, minting F assets representing tokens from other chains was mentioned as a possibility. And also Flare Finance, a native DeFi suite with tools for swapping, staking, lending, etc.
Okay, that gives a good picture of the network itself.
Now let's get into that SWOT analysis. This really helps put Flare in context. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
Right. So strengths first. What stands out?
The sources highlight its innovative Layer 1 design, really focus on that decentralized data and connectivity piece. The interoperability focus is key, with over 20 protocols already connected as of late 2023, seen as a big choice.
Security measures, too.
Yes. Robust security based on its architecture, decentralization, and reportedly high audit scores. And an active developer community, over 1,200 active devs mentioned, 150-plus dApps launched in 2023, that shows some traction.
Plus the potential to go beyond just DeFi into areas like supply chain or gaming. And those strategic partnerships, XRP Ledger, Chainlink, Tezos, those are big names.
Definitely strengths.
Yeah.
But then weaknesses. Flare is still pretty new, right? Launched into a very crowded market.
Yeah. Thousands of cryptos out there. Limited brand recognition compared to giants like Ethereum is noted.
And maybe an over-reliance on the community. One source pointed out that less than 15% of the DeFi volume was coming from community projects at the time.
Technical challenges were also flagged. Integrating all those protocols isn't trivial, and potential scalability limits compared to super fast chains like Solana were mentioned, alongside possibly slow cross-chain transaction times.
And the big one, regulatory uncertainty. That affects everyone in crypto, potentially increasing costs or limiting operations depending on jurisdiction.
Okay, but there are opportunities too. The overall demand for dApps and blockchain is exploding, right? Huge projected market growth.
Massive opportunity there. Plus potential tie-ins with traditional finance and tech companies. Lots of banks were reportedly interested in blockchain tech.
Expansion into emerging markets, especially for financial inclusion, is another big area.
And the growth of DeFi itself creates demand for networks like Flare. Add to that a large global pool of developers and significant VC funding still flowing into blockchain startups, even with market dips.
And leveraging that unique real-world data feature, FTSO, could tap into growth areas like real-world asset tokenization.
Absolutely. But then, the threats. Competition is brutal. Established players dominate, and new projects launch constantly.
Technology changes so fast, too. Constant updates and R&D are expensive but necessary.
Regulatory changes remain a huge threat, unpredictable and potentially restrictive. And security vulnerabilities are always a danger. Major hacks erode trust, and the sources noted billions lost in recent years.
Market volatility impacts funding, and negative public perception or skepticism towards crypto is also a factor.
So the SWOT paints Flare at a really critical point. Innovative tech, good security focus, growing community, but facing uphill battles with recognition, potential tech hurdles, and intense competition, all under that cloud of regulation. Agility seems key.
That strategic view is super helpful. Now let's look at that community sentiment piece based on the Reddit source.
Right. This gives us a glimpse into how some actual users or potential users were feeling. And, well, there was definitely some significant frustration.
That delay is most.
Delays were a big one, yeah. Repeated delays in development milestones and also changes to the token distribution plan. Specifically, that shift from a big initial airdrop to the 3-year distribution. That caused a lot of angst.
And the reliance on exchanges for the airdrop didn't sit well with some. Felt too centralized.
Exactly. Some comments mentioned feeling like the project was kneeling to exchanges, contradicting the decentralization goal. It even led some to question the team's technical ability.
And fears about the price dumping once tokens were distributed or unlocked. Comparisons to failed projects like Luna even came up.
They did, although it's crucial to note the counter-arguments in the source. Someone specifically pushed back hard on the Luna comparison, pointing out Flare's different tokenomics and emphasis on audits and safety checks.
Right, important context. And the Songbird testnet also caught some flack. Called a joke? Or worse.
Yeah, some very harsh criticism there. But again, there were other voices, people arguing for patience, suggesting delays might be needed to get the product right and avoid the kind of exploits seen elsewhere.
Others speculated the delays might be due to external stuff, like navigating regulations or coordinating with exchanges carefully to prevent them from becoming massive token holders themselves.
And you had some optimism, too. One person saw the potential price dip as a chance to buy low. Another person actually building on Songbird basically said, great things take time, showing belief in the long game.
So a real mix. Hope, frustration, cynicism. Pretty typical for a crypto community forum, maybe. But it highlights the challenges of managing expectations.
Definitely. Especially when timelines slip in such a volatile market. Communication is key. And clearly, based on this source, there were some perceived shortcomings there.
Okay. Deep breath. Let's completely switch gears now. The other Flare. Digital risk management.
Right. Totally different world. This Flare isn't building blockchain infrastructure. It's focused on protecting businesses from digital threats. DRM, digital risk management.
Which is basically about finding, assessing, and dealing with risks tied to a company's digital stuff. Data breaches, cyber attacks, compliance failure.
Exactly. Super critical stuff for protecting data, maintaining trust, ensuring business continuity. It helps avoid financial loss, reputation damage, regulatory fines.
So how do these DRM solutions help, generally?
They aim for comprehensive protection. They help find vulnerabilities, monitor for active threats in real time, put controls in place. They use analytics to figure out how serious a threat is and what to tackle first. And they help manage the response if an incident does happen.
And this specific Flare company's solution, what's its angle within DRM, according to the sources?
Its main function is automating the hunt for a company's sensitive information that's been leaked or stolen.
Where does it look?
Across the clear web, the dark web, and significantly illicit Telegram channels. A lot of data gets traded or shared there these days.
Okay, so broad scanning. Does it just dump alerts on the security team?
No. The sources emphasize prioritization. It filters the noise and highlights the external threats that pose the biggest immediate risk, helping teams focus. For instance, finding compromised employee credentials for sale or spotting insecure code repositories on GitHub before they're exploited.
Makes sense. The sources also categorize threats: accidental, external, intentional.
Yeah, a useful breakdown. Accidental is human error, misconfigured cloud settings, falling for phishing scams.
Yeah.
External is the typical hackers, criminals, spies trying to get in. Intentional is the insider threat, someone inside deliberately causing harm or stealing data.
And threat analysis is key to good DRM.
Absolutely. It helps you understand your specific threats and prioritize defenses. It uses threat intelligence for context like, is this vulnerability actually being exploited right now? That helps you focus resources effectively.
Reducing the attack surface, cutting through alert fatigue, all sounds vital for overloaded security teams.
Definitely. And good DRM solutions offer features like real-time intelligence feeds, vulnerability scanning, compliance tracking, incident response workflows, all ideally in a central dashboard that plugs into other security tools like SIEM systems.
You mentioned SIEM earlier, Security Information and Event Management Systems. Thanks for clarifying. AI and machine learning play a role too.
A big role. They automate a lot of the detection and analysis, processing vast amounts of data, spotting anomalies, predicting attacks, optimizing responses, and they learn and improve over time.
Implementing this sounds like a project in itself. Assessing posture, defining goals, selecting tools, training.
It is a process. And ongoing vigilance is key, subscribing to threat feeds, sharing info, using AI to track emerging threats.
And training employees is critical to reduce that accidental threat category.
Hugely important. Making staff aware of phishing, social engineering, safe practices, it's often the first line of defense. And for insider threats, things like strict access controls and monitoring user activity are needed.
How do companies know if their DRM strategy is actually working?
The sources point to metrics like fewer security incidents, less severe impact when incidents do occur, better compliance scores, faster detection and response times. Measuring those KPIs is key.
And the specific product here is the Flare Threat Exposure Management, or TEAM solution.
That's the one. Designed to help organizations proactively find and fix the exposures that attackers are most likely to target. That automated 247 scanning of clear web, dark web, and Telegram is its core function.
And it integrates quickly, potentially replacing other tools?
Yeah, integration in 30 minutes was mentioned, and the potential to consolidate multiple point solutions. The customer testimonials highlighted significant time savings.
Like that 1,500 hours down to 1 week example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And its ability to effectively filter and prioritize alerts, allowing rapid response. Users apparently found it easy to use too, across different types of organizations, law enforcement, big corporations, startups.
Okay, so that paints a clear picture of Flare, the DRM company. Very different focus.
Completely different. So we've explored two distinct flares based on your sources. The Flare network, a layer 1 blockchain, all about decentralized data, interoperability, dApps, tokens, facing market and community challenges.
And Flare, the company, focused on digital risk management, cybersecurity, protecting organizations from external threats by monitoring the web and dark web for leaked data and exposures.
And based only on the information in these sources, there's nothing explicitly linking them besides the name. They operate in totally separate domains.
One's building out there on the decentralized frontier, dealing with crypto volatility and innovation cycles. The other is firmly planted in enterprise IT security, dealing with the constant battle against cyber threats to existing businesses. Both involve data, both involve security, but from vastly different perspectives.
So wrapping up this deep dive, we've covered the Flare Network's tech, its market position, the SWOT analysis insights, and that revealing community sentiment. We've also delved into the world of digital risk management and how the other Flare company operates within it. You should now have a much clearer picture of these two entities and their respective landscapes.
It definitely clarifies the distinction. Now, here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering the Flare network's goal of bringing more real-world data onto decentralized ledgers, and the Flare DRM company's mission to monitor the digital world, including the dark web, for leaked organizational data, how might these two worlds, decentralized data infrastructure and enterprise digital risk management, start to influence each other down the line?
As more sensitive or valuable data potentially moves onto blockchains, or as decentralized systems become more integrated with traditional business, what new risks does that create?
And how will cybersecurity and risk management strategies need to evolve to address threats that might span both the traditional internet and these new decentralized networks?
It's a fascinating intersection to consider, definitely something to keep an eye on as both these fields continue to develop.
Food for thought. Thanks for diving deep with us today.